It's 1964. America is buzzing. The space race is in full swing, the World's Fair has just opened its gates in New York, and millions of people are filing past exhibits that promise them a glimpse of tomorrow. And tucked inside Ford's display, right alongside one of the most famous car debuts in automotive history, sits something almost no one talks about today: a station wagon. But not just a station wagon, something so different, so forward-thinking, that the producers of Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey actually considered using it as a film prop. They passed on it, but the fact they even looked tells you everything you need to know about what Ford had built. This is the story of the 1964 Ford Aurora, and it deserves far more attention than it ever got. Why did Ford even build this? By the early 1960s, Ford had a problem. The company had long been a leader in the station wagon segment. Their Country Squire was a fixture in driveways across suburban America, but General Motors and Chrysler were catching up fast. Wagons across every brand were starting to blur together. Stretched sedans, more cargo room, fake wood paneling, done. Ford's answer wasn't to build a better version of the same thing, it was to ask a completely different question: what should a station wagon actually be? Gene Bordenot, Ford's vice president and director of styling, had a vision. He described the Aurora as a rolling laboratory of new ideas in styling and engineering, and said it could one day foretell station wagon designs with completely unique chassis components divorced from passenger car lines entirely. That was a radical idea in 1964. Wagons weren't supposed to have their own identity. They were hand-me-downs from the sedan platform. Bordenot wanted to change that from the ground up. The result was a car that introduced 23 experimental features across exterior design, lighting, interior layout, and passenger experience. No single one of them was cosmetic. Every feature had a purpose. The Aurora's exterior design had a clear theme running through every decision: control over light. Up front, Ford ditched the conventional headlight setup entirely. Instead, they installed what they called the mini-bank system, a horizontal array of 12 1-inch sealed beam micro-lamps. This gave the driver a full range of illumination, from the dimmest low output setting to maximum brightness, with multiple stages in between. Think of it as manual dimming control decades before adaptive headlights became standard. And if one lamp burned out, the other 11 kept going. Redundancy built directly into the design. The windshield curved dramatically up into the roofline in a single wrap-over form, blending glass into structure in a way most production cars wouldn't attempt for another generation. Above it, the power-operated polarizing sunroof was the centerpiece. 2 layers of polarizing material, each made up of parallel strips a fraction of an inch wide, sat stacked on top of each other. When they aligned, soft green-tinted light filtered through. Shift the bottom layer just slightly, putting the strips at a 90-degree offset, and the roof turned completely opaque. No shade required, no visor needed, just a button. Behind the roll bar, the roof transitioned to textured aluminum that reflected infrared rays, managing heat in the rear of the cabin passively. The whole roofline was doing 3 separate jobs at once. Along the body sides, full-length spear-shaped ornaments could be illuminated using electroluminescent cool light, a technology that produces illumination without generating heat first. This same lighting ran across the license plates and even spelled out the Aurora lettering on the hood and rear door. Ford saw it as the future of vehicle identification and safety visibility. The side windows were flush jalousie panels instead of conventional glass, nearly flat, designed specifically to reduce wind noise and improve aerodynamic flow. Every surface was doing something. Here's where the Aurora starts to feel genuinely ahead of its time. The rear entry system Ford designed was unlike anything on any wagon before it. The lower tailgate folded down flat, and Ford carpeted it, so it functioned as a proper step. Not a sharp metal edge, not an awkward ledge, a carpeted stair that even small children could use comfortably. The upper liftgate didn't swing outward. Instead, Torsion bars helped it swing up, and it then slid backward over the roof on a built-in track. The entire rear of the car opened in one clean, unobstructed movement. No gate swinging into your face, no awkward angles, just a wide, clear opening that made loading, unloading, and boarding genuinely practical. Ford called this the clamshell rear entry system, and it wasn't just clever engineering for its own sake. It was designed specifically to serve the interior layout waiting on the other side of that opening. The Aurora's interior was divided into 3 distinct spaces, each designed for a different occupant and a different purpose. At the back, accessed through the clamshell system, was the children's compartment. Ford built it with a rear-facing seat, storage for books and toys, and its own AM/FM radio. A power-operated glass partition could seal this section completely from the rest of the cabin. Soundproofed, self-contained, designed specifically for active kids on long drives. And the Aurora's onboard television could pipe its audio directly into the kids' radio, so they could watch and listen even with the partition closed. Ford was solving the family road trip problem 60 years before anyone thought to put a screen in a headrest. The center of the Aurora was called the Central Lounge, and that name was accurate. A curved sofa ran along one side, designed to seat 4 adults. A swivel armchair could face forward or rotate to face the sofa for conversation. A suspended ceiling cove above the seating combined direct and indirect lighting to create something closer to a room than a vehicle interior. Beside the seating, a full communications console housed an AM/FM radio, a television set, and a sound recorder. Below it, a tabletop, an ice cabinet, a thermoelectric combination oven-refrigerator unit, and a built-in beverage cooler. On a long trip, there was genuinely no reason to stop. Up front, the driver sat in what Ford called the command post. The high-back, contoured seat offered neck support, not something you saw often in 1964. And the steering system replaced the traditional wheel entirely with a power-assisted steering bar, requiring only half a turn from lock to lock. Ford also built in a turnpike lane indicator on the instrument panel, designed to show the safe speed for each lane and flag blocked lanes ahead. Space was reserved for a constant speed control system and a device capable of automatically informing the driver of the car's exact location. In 1964, that was science fiction. Today, we call it cruise control and GPS. Ford built the Aurora fully knowing it would never reach production. That was never the point. The company understood that concept cars like this, shown to millions of fairgoers, were research tools as much as design statements. Real people reacting in real time gave Ford's engineers, stylists, and executives something no internal survey could: honest, spontaneous feedback about what the future of the family car might look like. The Aurora liked the idea enough that Ford revisited it 5 years later with the Aurora 2 in 1969, this time based on a production LTD Country Squire wagon, with the B-pillars removed to create a full, uninterrupted lounge space. White-knuckler brand, the concept clearly had staying power inside Dearborn, even if it never made it to the showroom floor. The wraparound rear seat styling Ford explored in the Aurora did make it into production, in more modest form, on the 1964 Thunderbird. Ideas don't always arrive intact. Sometimes they arrive in pieces, spread across cars that nobody connects back to the original. Looking at the Aurora now, it's impossible not to notice how many of its ideas eventually became real. Adaptive headlights, cowered glass partitions, rear seat entertainment, yoke-style steering, polarized sunroofs, lane speed indicators. The Aurora didn't predict the future by accident. Ford built that future deliberately, then put it on a show floor and waited. So, what feature from the Aurora surprised you most? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to know which one stood out. If you enjoyed this one, subscribe and check out the recommended video on screen.